This is what December football is supposed to feel like. Saturday night, under the lights at Villanova Stadium, it's win or go home in the FCS playoffs. No style points, no second chances, just 60 minutes to keep your season and dreams alive. The Illinois State Redbirds make the trip east, bringing one of the most explosive offenses left in the bracket. A quarterback who's thrown for over 3,000 yards passing, and a backfield that can wear you down, and receivers who can flip the game in a single snap. Waiting for them is a Villanova team built for this moment, efficient, physical, and disciplined. A Wildcats offense that protects the football, controls tempo, and feeds off of a home crowd that knows exactly what playoff football demands. This matchup is strength on strength. Villanova's balance versus Illinois State's firepower. One side wants to dictate the pace. The other wants to break it wide open. It's December 20th. It's prime time on ESPN2, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And when the lights come on in Pennsylvania, only one of these teams is moving on. I'm Nathan Johnston alongside Brad Hopkins. It's time to break the huddle. Brad, FCS playoffs, man, it just doesn't get any better. It really doesn't. As much as we love talking about these bigger time games going on with Alabama, Oklahoma, Miami A&M, there's nothing better than FCS football, man. FCS playoff football is great. And if you get a chance to watch it, you need to. Brad, my opening question to you is, when you look at a night playoff game like this, what's the first thing that tells you which team is ready for the moment? Nerves, physicality, or early execution?
I think early execution. Look, Illinois State going on the road, it's going to be a good environment in Villanova. You can't put yourself in a hole early, either side, but especially I think being the road team, if you put yourself in a hole early to where it lets the home crowd get into it, you're going to have a long night on your hands.
Yeah, I agree completely. I also want to ask you, I know we talked about cold weather in the last one versus Montana State not really being a factor, but especially at nighttime, how much do you think a cold weather night kickoff actually impacts offensive game plans, especially for quarterbacks who really rely on timing?
I think it does to an extent, but ultimately, you're talking about two teams that they're used to this kind of weather. They've practiced for it, they've prepped for it.
Mm-hmm.
When the adrenaline and the nerves get going, I mean, yes, it's going to make some difference, but ultimately, I don't think it changes the complexion of the game too terribly much, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's talk about Villanova's offense for a minute. Quarterback Pat McQuaide, over 2,800 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, and only 3 picks. The one thing that always stands out to me, Brad, in these FCS matchups is these quarterbacks throw for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns, and most of them really don't throw a lot of interceptions. I don't know if you credit that to, I don't want to say lesser defense in the FCS than you get at the higher level, but I mean, you still got to get out there and play ball. Running backs,
Right.
Jabril Mace, 918 yards, 12 touchdowns. Isaiah Ragland, 721 yards. They've got a dual threat in the backfield. And then the wide receivers for this offense, Luke Colella, over 1,000 yards receiving, and then Lucas Kopecki, 500 yards receiving. Brad, McQuaide doesn't turn the ball over much. In a playoff game, is that more valuable than having a quarterback who can create chaos with his legs?
I think it's very valuable because, Nate, you mentioned it. We see at the FCS level, a lot of these guys throw for a ton of yards, but we've got an interesting quarterback matchup here that two guys that not that far off in yardage. They both throw it a lot, but the big stat that stands out to me is McQuaide for Villanova only 3 picks, and then Rittenhouse for Illinois State 11. That's a very, very big factor that if Rittenhouse does that a couple times Saturday night, Villanova is gonna walk away with this one.
Yeah, it's going to be an intriguing matchup, especially on the defensive side of the ball. These are two very, I would say, in the playoff standings, anyways, these were two teams that I don't want to say weren't expecting to make it this far, but let's just say Villanova was not planning on having home field advantage in this one, and now they are, along with Illinois State, who has just found ways to win. I mean, how often do we talk about it's survive and move on? And Illinois State has just done that. It's been impressive to watch. Let's talk about Illinois State's offense and that impressive quarterback they have. Tommy Rittenhouse, 34 touchdowns, over 3,000 yards passing. He's a dual threat kind of guy. Even though he's kind of sloppy with the football, a lot of that has to do with him running out of the pocket and trying to make a play on the run. When he uses his legs the right way, it'll make you pay. Running back Victor Dawson over 1,000 yards rushing, and then wide receiver Daniel Sobkowicz over 900 yards receiving, and 16 touchdowns, Brad. 16 receiving touchdowns on the year. That's crazy. And
Yeah,
Brad, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, Nate, it's a big deal because you look, he's accounted for almost half of Rittenhouse's touchdowns. So this guy is a prime red zone target.
When you got a quarterback like Rittenhouse who will take chances, how do you coach that balance between aggression and protecting the football, especially in a semifinal playoff game?
Absolutely. You don't want to just tell the guy, hey, don't play like yourself, right? Like,
Yeah.
You're not going to tell Johnny Manziel, a Diego Pavia, don't be yourself. But also,
Yeah.
you got to count that Villanova's got a good defense. I mean, their leading tackler in Hartzell is also their leading sack guy. So Villanova, just looking at the numbers, they've got a very, very capable defense, I would say a very, very good defense. So, it's a fine line with Rittenhouse of you want him to be creative, you want him to kind of be that gunslinger that he's been all year. But once again, I go back to he has thrown 11 interceptions. So he's got to trust himself, but he's also got to be careful. Once again, you're on the road. It's Saturday. It's a Saturday night game. If you give away a couple of turnovers and Villanova gets good field position and take some possessions away, if you're Illinois State, this one can get away from you very, very quickly.
Yeah, I agree completely. Let's talk about the matchup X factors heading into this semifinal game. Obviously, you've got the four difference makers in this one: turnover margin, red zone efficiency, home field advantage for Villanova, and then the most obvious one, in my opinion, third down conversions. Brad, if you had one to pick from these four, which one wins it and why?
I think third down conversions when you can force a team off the field and when you're able to extend drives, that's a very, very big deal. But I'm going to tell you also something stands out to me, Nate, is when you've got a couple defense like this, field position matters, right?
Yeah.
Like field position. Field position is huge. We know that. Obviously we talk about FBS here, but field position when you're going up against these elite defenses, it's a very, very big deal.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I think third down conversion and then time of possession as well. I didn't mention that one.
Yeah,
But it kind of goes hand in hand, right? When you convert more third downs, you're keeping the other offense off the field. And
absolutely.
especially in these FCS playoff games, very differently from the college football playoff that we're used to seeing with these bigger schools. Unlike the FBS and the college football playoff that we're used to seeing with some of these bigger teams, most of the FCS playoff games are very high. The longer you can keep the team off the field, it kind of goes hand in hand. You pick up the third down, you increase your red zone efficiency. That's another thing too is, you can't settle for field goals in these FCS playoff games. You just can't. And it's going to cost you. It just will. Brad, I expect a tight physical game in the fourth quarter in this one. Villanova wants to control and be disciplined. Illinois State wants tempo and explosive plays. I'll turn it over to you, Brad. Late in the fourth quarter, who do you trust more, the steady home team or the road team with the higher ceiling? And who comes away with this one?
Yeah, to answer your first question, I like Villanova, man. They're a balanced attack, and I trust the home side. And McQuaide impresses me as a quarterback. Once again, I go back to he's got a good completion percentage, but just taking care of the football. As far as my prediction, I love Illinois State. Nate, we're talking about an Illinois State team that beat the juggernaut North Dakota State Bison. That's a very, very big deal. They shocked.
Very.
They shocked not only the FCS world, but they shocked college football a couple weeks ago when they went on the road. They went up to Fargo, North Dakota, and beat them. So this Illinois State team's for real. But Saturday night, I'm going to take the Wildcats. And they, you mentioned this guy, their leading rusher, Jabril Mace. But Nate, something that stands out to me, Mace, Ragland, and Abbott. Abbott is their third leading rusher. He's got 683 yards. Ragland was 721, and then Mace with 918.
Mm-hmm.
That is an extremely balanced attack. That obviously takes some pressure off of McQuaide and this Villanova Wildcats passing attack. I just think that rushing attack and that rushing balance, I think it spells problems for Illinois State. Give me the Wildcats to advance to the national championship Saturday night.
This is such a hard matchup to pick from, man, because like you said, you look back, not only did they beat North Dakota State on the road, they also beat South Dakota State on the road
Yeah.
by what, 14 points? So, like, man, they're just beating people left and right. They barely escape against North Dakota State, and I say barely. That was an impressive win. Villanova's kept it close in all their playoff games so far. They beat Lehigh 14-7. They beat Tarleton State 26-21. So, man, to me, this is a coin flip game. It's anyone's game. I'm going to go with my gut here. I'm going to go with Illinois State. I don't know why, but I think they just aren't afraid to go out there and play ball. Yes, they're going to make a few mistakes, but I'd say they know their identity and they're very confident. And especially in the playoffs, you got to go with the hot hand, right? You got to go with the team that's really making some noise until they can't. And I'm going to take the Redbirds. I think they get the upset on Saturday night on ESPN2, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Let us know down in the comments who you think comes out on top in this one. And be sure to hit that subscribe button and help us to get to 1,000 subs. We really appreciate all the support so far. We're almost there. And also, be sure to check us out Saturday afternoon, 12 p.m. Eastern time, when we give in-game commentary and analysis for the Texas A&M versus Miami football game. We'll be live here in Break the Huddle studio for Break the Huddle After Dark. You won't want to miss out. We'll see you Saturday afternoon. It's time to break the huddle.